Hi everybody. So the boss is a little bit snorkly and sneezy right now. So if you hear some snorting, some sneezing, some coughing, it's her. She's just got a head full of boogers. And yes, I know the shirt's wrinkled. I wanted to kind of do a baseball motif this week, with the start of spring training and all. As you know, I subscribe to the when in Rome theory of going to other parks. When I go there, I always buy a shirt. This one for somehow kind of got pushed to the bottom of my shelf and it is all wrinkled, but I just got to tell you, I just don't have the energy to either iron or steam the wrinkles out, so wrinkled it is. Of course, that doesn't matter because you've got questions, I've got answers. Let's talk about driving overseas. I gotta tell you, I'm so focused on my lips right now because I feel like I need more lipstick, but I don't, and it's making me crazy. I know that just sounded like the ramblings of a lunatic, but, quite frankly, I don't care. So today we're going to get into what you are going to need to do if you want to drive when you are not in the United States. But before we get into that, if this is your first time here, welcome. I'm Gretchen, the Tipsy Travel Gal. I am a licensed esthetician and a travel agent, and it is my goal to eat, drink, and spa my way around the world. Of course, bringing you with me to show you some interesting things to do, some amazing things to see, and some delicious food to eat and drink. My hope is that, of course, it inspires you to travel as well, whether that be international or domestic. So if that sounds interesting to you, please consider subscribing to my channel. Just press that little subscription button right down there below. I would greatly appreciate it. Also included in the description of this video is a link to my GoFundMe page. It tells you a little bit about me and where I'm going, where I've been. And if you have a couple extra dollars, I would really appreciate it if you could send me a donation. Now that all that's discussed, let's get in to driving international. Now, first and foremost, it is all on you to know the destination's driving laws. That includes everything from which side of the road to cell phone usage. That is a big one. So you need to find out what the rules of the road are before you travel there. Now, to find that out, you can go to the U.S. State Department's website, look up the country that you wish to drive in, and they will either give you a list of the traffic laws. They usually will give you a coverage of the basics, but then they usually will direct you to the country's website as well, so you can read up on those travel laws. Also, the auto rental companies will help you out with that, but it's definitely best to know what you're doing before you start driving. Now, the good news is if you're staying on the North American continent and you're going to either Canada or Mexico, your U.S. state driver's license is valid. You don't have to do anything special to drive in either Canada or Mexico. Brava! One less thing you have to take care of before you leave on your trip. But if you're planning on driving anywhere else in the world, yeah, it's not that easy. Well, actually, it's not hard, but we'll get into it. First of all, go to the U.S. State Department's website or ask your handy travel agent, such as myself, and find out what you're going to need to do to drive. Each country listed on the State Department's website, and you're going to be there anyway, right? Making sure you're logging your trip with the State Department, and of course checking to make sure what passport requirements are, right? No, just have me do it. It's much easier. But the U.S. State Department will tell you exactly what you need and direct you to the right places to go in order to do it. Also, a lot of help are the auto rental companies. They're going to let you know what you need as well. But it's always good to start with the State Department so you have an idea of what you're going to do, especially if you're going to be renting a car yourself and not through a travel package. For a lot of European countries, a U.S. passport and your driver's license is all you need. But beyond that, most countries are going to require you to get an IDP, which is International Driver's Permit. Now, don't panic. This is not having to take a test or anything like that. Basically, this is all done through AAA. It has to be done in your home country. So meaning, if you're in Italy and suddenly decide you want to drive through the Italian Alps, you have to contact a AAA in the United States to do this. It only costs $20. And essentially what they're going to do is verify your license is in good standing and then translate your license into the country in which you are going. So like for the Italy example, they will translate your driver's license into Italian. Now, even if the country doesn't require an IDP, some auto rental companies might. So be prepared to get it just in case. And to be completely honest, it's only $20. If I was planning on driving, I would just do it anyway, so I have it. Also, I mean, it could help if you suddenly decide that you want to drive somewhere and you need it. If you just get it first, it's not that big of a deal. Something also very important to remember, if you do get an IDP, that is not your identification. Unlike in the United States, where your driver's license can be used as your ID, you still need to have your passport on you. That is your official identification when you travel abroad. Now, there are some countries you will not be able to drive in. For example, American citizens cannot drive in China. You need a driver's license issued by China. So again, it is really important to check on these things before you make your travel plans, because if you're planning on driving as a huge portion of your trip and it turns out you can't drive legally in that country, that's really going to put a damper on things. So what happens if you break the law? And by breaking the law, I mean traffic laws. There are a lot of different kinds of laws you can break. I'm not going to counsel you there because I am not an attorney. But first and foremost, be apologetic. I mean, if you want to argue with them, feel free, but there is no quicker way to ruin your vacation than to have the police take your passport from you. Also, pay the fine before you go, because you're not going to stay there to argue with anybody over it. And quite frankly, it's going to get paid one way or another. And if you're not the one who's paying it, the people who do pay it for you aren't going to be as polite as the police are. If you've rented a car, they're going to charge your card, plus any applicable fees. And by the way, in some countries, if you don't pay the fine right away, the fine starts to get exponentially higher. Like, for example, in France, if you haven't paid that fine in 45 days of the infraction, they double it. And the European Union has a very large network, not necessarily for United States citizens, but to police each other. So for example, if you're French and you drive to Germany and you're breaking traffic laws in Germany, that ticket's going to follow you back to France. They have relationships with each other. And I know you're probably thinking to yourself, well, that doesn't matter because I don't live in Europe. Yes, but you may never be able to rent a car in Europe again because they're going to have your record. So just pay the fine. Better yet, don't break the law. So that's it for today's Q&A. I hope you found it interesting and you learned a little bit about what you need to do if you're going to be driving overseas. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them below. I would be more than happy to answer any questions that you have, either about this or a completely different topic if you like. If you don't want to comment below, you can always go to any of my social media accounts. I am Tipsy Travel Gal on all of the main ones, or you can go to my website, tipsytravelgal.com. If you look at the top menu bar, there is a contact me link. Click on that link and it'll take you to a place where you can send me an email. So thank you so much for watching, and until the next time, bye.